I don't really have, like, a funny way to open this or anything. This is a podcast.
Oh, we are vampires!
Vampires! Is this really the one that makes you give up?
Yeah, this is the one that made me give up.
Damn, that's kind of
I'm Matisse Van Rossum. That's it.
I'm Ben Sheets, and you smell that? I smelled the bussy.
Hi, I'm Sparkly Vengeance, Cleveland Mosier.
Oh my god. I'm glad you guys are feeling more into it than I am. Somebody's got to bring some energy to this, because I have none.
Are you an energy vampire?
You took a lot of psychic damage.
I took maybe the most psychic damage I've ever taken from a movie, which is hard to believe.
I
But this
honestly
is like
think,
my bottom.
that suffering through this movie with UTs made it a lot easier for me. Like, every time I looked at the screen and I saw something awful, I could feel my face, like, making, like, a horrified expression of just, like, are you fucking kidding me? This is so stupid. And I'd look over and I'd see the exact same expression on your face, and it just made everything easier.
The sweet suffering, this is like a Cenobite sort of scenario.
Yeah, no tears.
I think the thing about this for me is, like, it definitely wasn't better than I was expecting. I wouldn't be able to say that, but it was certainly funnier than I was expecting.
Yeah, I agree.
Unintentionally, but it was still funnier than I was expecting.
In some cases, almost, I think, intentionally. Like, there's no way that, like, some of the people working on this movie and editing it weren't, like, having a laugh also.
Oh man, I don't know. Well, we should intro the movie we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, context is important.
Yeah, context is important. I mean, if you've clicked on the episode, you've seen the title, but this is a Patreon pick, and we're talking about Twilight. Micah, our honorary pod boy, did this to us.
I will say, now that I've come out of it, we're watching it, I'm less mad at Micah. I actually think this is a pretty funny pick.
I mean, from an outsider's perspective, it certainly is a funny pick. I made the mistake of saying in the Discord at some point a while ago that none of our honorary pod boys have ever trolled us yet. And that, like, we've always gotten, like, interesting
Wait,
picks.
this is on you?
I mean,
You
in
son
a
of a
roundabout
bitch.
sort of way, I guess, maybe. I'm just sort of like a trusting person that doesn't expect, like, people to fucking, drive a knife into my back. But yeah, I mentioned that, like, nobody had trolled us on the podcast yet. And so Micah decided, why not? I'm going to make them talk about Twilight. And so here we fucking are, talking about Twilight. And I just want to say this right off the bat. I think that we all know what this movie is. We know what this franchise is. We know that this is just like a machine that is fed by the fucking, like, ennui of, like, 13-year-old girls.
Yeah.
And engaging with it on, like, a serious critical level doesn't seem fair to any party involved. But here we are, and we have a duty to do.
We got a
so
job.
I just want to say that I know it's not really fair to spend the next hour and some change complaining about this movie. It's a useless exercise, but here we are, so we're gonna do it.
Abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about 2008's Twilight, directed by, hang on, I had her name a second ago. Catherine Hardwicke, and starring Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, and based on the best-selling teen vampire romance novels written by Stephanie Meyer.
Well, okay, let's start by talking about our histories with the Twilight series. Like, growing up, it was pretty ubiquitous in middle school for us.
Mm-hmm. For me.
But I don't know, what is your guys' experience with the series,
I mean,
if anything?
I have
none. I have zero experience with it outside of, like you said, this series blew up when we were in middle school. So I remember for years, pretty much, 90% of the teen girls carrying around these just enormous, glossy black books with fucking quote-unquote tasteful black and white photography on them where one piece of the photograph was blood red. And, like, it's, you know, it was impossible to not be ambiently aware of what the story is about.
Yeah, and
Team
annoying
Edward,
girls.
Teen Edward, Team Jacob, all of this shit, blah, 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 blah. Like, it was everywhere. But up until this point, right here, just a month before my 30th birthday, I had managed to never read a single one of these books or watch a single one of these movies. So that's my history with Twilight.
Ben, did you want to kind of give your history, or did you have more?
Yeah,
on
I
that
mean,
first? 'Cause
honestly,
mine's a
I
long
don't
one.
have a ton of history with the series. You know, I, like all of us, have been ambiently aware of the series, and, you know, I've seen too many shitty Tumblr posts with screenshots and
We are not,
text
nor
on
have
this one.
ever been the demographic for these things.
No. And, you know, Tease and I, we didn't have a sister growing up, which definitely
Correct.
made it so we weren't even close to...
Like, I had female friends in middle
Sure,
school, you know,
sure.
and would, like, hear them talking about it, like, at the lunch table. But it's, you know, I mean, at that age, it's like, girl shit and boy shit is, like, very clearly, like, separated, you know? And this was girl shit, so I didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
I was too busy fucking, being into Warhammer.
You want to know
Definitively boy shit.
what I was
Okay.
into in 7th grade? Around our lunch table, they would let you take however many little packets of butter you
Oh, sure.
wanted from the, I don't know, the buffet sort of thing. And so we would just stash them, right? We would take like 5 or 6 each, and we did this for like multiple months, and then we decided to take all of those and have a butter war.
That sounds
where we'd
dope.
shoot them at each other in the park.
And you know what? Frankly, I wish we could spend the next hour talking about your butter war.
I mean, that's boy shit, right?
That's boy shit right there. That's real shit for the boys.
I remember we would shoot them in the cafeteria itself, and one time we got butter stuck on the ceiling,
Hell yeah.
and it was there for the rest of the year.
Let me ask you something. This is a tangent because I don't want to talk about this movie.
Well, yeah.
Cleveland and I obviously grew up together and went to the same school, so we had a lot of the same experience growing up. Did your school in middle school, did you have hornets? Was that a thing? Where you fold a piece of paper over like a million times and put it on a rubber band and then shoot it at somebody and it hurts like the fucking Dickens?
No. We did not.
It hurts like the. Are you an orphan? Are you that's such a damn. That's an
That's
I was
bringing out the
channeling
Southern.
my Southern energy.
It was good. It was good.
And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, we had 5 stars. You know, just
what is that?
What?
open palm slapping the back of someone to leave a 5-sided star.
Okay, so we
you
had
know?
something
Like,
similar to that where you'd slap the shit out of the back of somebody's neck, and you called that getting their cream cheese.
I'll be real. I don't remember that one. My cream cheese was never
You just
got.
run up behind somebody, slap the absolute shit out of the back of their neck, and be like, "Oh, got that cream cheese."
We did not have that. We had 5 stars and we had corn dogs. Corn dogs are
okay,
when
what
you
is
sneak
that?
up behind someone and throw your fist.
Oh, yeah,
up
we did
up
that.
their
between
butt?
between their legs
Yeah, up their butt.
to get their crotch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hit
oh,
hit them
okay,
in
yeah,
the
sure.
nards.
You're
Yeah.
the stick. They're the corn dog. Yeah, I get it.
Interesting.
Well, it's
Interesting
not up the
seeing-
butt. It's hitting their balls.
Yeah, going around from behind to get the balls.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Man, interesting to see the different cultures of middle schools in America. Yeah. How about that? Cleveland, what was your experience with Twilight?
All right, this is a long one. All right, so I've mentioned before, I grew up. You know, my mom taught at a dance studio, and so I spent a lot of time like at the dance studio and like during performances and stuff. I used to like run lights and sound, and I danced a little bit myself. But what?
What does this have to do with Twilight?
I spent a lot of time around the demographic that these books were for. So you mentioned you guys didn't have sisters. I do, but she's like 7 years older, so like she didn't really like experience the Twilight stuff as much. She was more into like the Interview with the Vampire stuff and all the like classic.
Sure.
Well, not classic, but
I did read a few of those in middle school, actually.
Sure.
The Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah.
What is it with horny women and vampires? Interview with the Vampire, Twilight,
Fucking True Blood. I mean, that was just like the 90s and the 2000s. Like, everybody was fucking hot for vampires. Yeah. It was definitely like, it was a cultural moment. And there were like different stratifications of it with like different generations. Because like, Interview with the Vampire, like, I think the earliest one of those books came out in like the late 80s or like early 90s. So it was definitely like an earlier thing. But then Twilight is kind of the same thing.
It's the bad boy thing.
Just worse
written. It's the, you want that kind of dangerous guy. Like, guys have the equivalent of that.
You want a dude who's gonna fucking suck you dry.
Suck you dry. And
they should have made both Dracula hot. That movie wouldn't have bombed.
I agree. But...
No, I disagree.
You like a freaky ghoul.
I said it in that episode. I like my Draculas. I like my Draculas to be nasty little rat freaks.
I agree.
Sure, but the movie would have not bombed.
Okay, sure.
The one is like my mom. Her job is to like work with teens. And work with like these young girls on a regular basis. So she wanted to and they were all talking about Twilight. For me, this is like my freshman year of high school and throughout, because these books and movies went on forever. So it was just like,
oh my God.
Like throughout the entirety of my high school, it was like Twilight was always being talked about. And, she, she wanted to be able to relate. So she's like, you know what? They're always talking about these Twilight books. I'm going to give them a go and listen to them on tape. And, her office was right beneath my room. And, I'm going throughout the house. So I'm just ambiently hearing Twilight as well. So I never sat down and watched the movies, but I listened to a lot of it, and my mom and I kind of commiserated a little bit because she was going through it, and I'd just be walking through the hall, and you'd hear a line like, "You're like heroin to me," or whatever, and my mom and I would just look at each other and laugh. Because, she thought it was stupid, too. But she was, just, trying to, get, the headset of her students and, relate with them.
I mean, geez, that's some fucking dedication.
I agree. My mom cared about her job, and I appreciate that. But, so it was, we had a pretty fun time, listening in and laughing at, the terrible writing. It was great, because, I shared a lot of, YA books and stuff like that with my mom, too. And my grandma as well. She really got me into reading as a kid. And so the His Dark Materials books and other well-written YA novels. And so then we get to fucking Twilight. It's this is awful. This is just the fucking worst. But in addition, my sister did go to college and graduate from Pacific University in Oregon. So around the same time. So when I was in school, the whole family, for a graduation, the whole family went up to the Pacific Northwest. And her boyfriend at the time, also, their family lived in Port Angeles and were taking a vacation to La Push. So we drove up.
Wow, you just saw all of the Twilight sites.
I saw all of the Twilight.
All of the Twilight sites.
All of the Twilight sites in one vacation.
That's incredible.
We went and
so do you feel like
from
a vampire?
Oregon to Washington?
Do you feel shinier?
Of course. Yeah, I'm shiny as fuck, boy. But the fucking but to go from Portland to up into Washington, guess what you have to pass through? Motherfucking Forks.
Oh, wow!
I've been all of it. We went. So this is my favorite.
Did they actually shoot this in Forks?
I think. They shot it in the Pacific Northwest for sure. But
some of it at least.
I don't want to say whether they shot, but Forks.
Forks is the setting of this movie. Did you recognize the town?
Loosely, I don't know. I guess it was it was 15 years ago. But
was it actually shot there?
That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. Probably not.
But again, whenever they're out in the woods, that's the Pacific Northwest for sure. They definitely didn't shoot it in fucking California or whatever.
I mean, realistically,
in Canada.
They probably shot it in Vancouver.
Yeah, but
that's where most things that shoot in the Pacific Northwest shoot.
Sure, but the even so, it really did look like that area. I'll give it that at the very least. But this is the funniest part though. we went through Forks, and we're driving through, right? So, like, we stopped for, like, some of the sites or whatever. You know, there were, like, some cool, like, fucking totem poles or whatever.
Did you go to the Lumberjack Blade Runner restaurant?
So we didn't go to that weird fucking place with the toads out front that did look very cool in the movie. That's definitely my favorite location in the film. But we did because we were driving along the way. We stopped at a Subway.
Sure.
And in like 2000 and what would that have been, like 8? The Subway in Forks had a Twilight sandwich.
I bet it fucking did.
Yeah.
I bet it fucking did.
Oh yeah.
So I thought that's my favorite anecdote.
What
bet-
would it be? Roast beef and Cool Ranch Doritos
It had
on
like
there.
red onions and it was boring. It was a boring like spinach.
It was a fish.
fucking-
Yeah, I don't know
It was
how
a
you make.
fish sandwich.
I don't know how you make a
Subway?
vampire.
God, that's
I don't know how you
food
make a
poisoning.
sexy vampire themed sandwich. But I do.
Sexy anything
I
sandwich
do.
is a
I
fucking
do bet.
sandwich.
I do bet that unironically, Forks was probably a sort of mecca for like 12-year-old girls like during
It
this
still is.
time. Well, I mean, like Twin Peaks was shot in like a real town in Washington, and like the Double R Diner is like a real thing, and like people go on sort of like pilgrimages to the real town and go to the diner and stuff. And I'm just imagining like exhausted parents like being dragged all the way to the Pacific Northwest by
This
like their
dinky little shit town.
12-year-old daughter to this like dinky little town where like maybe 5% of the film was shot, if that much, and just being like, oh my god, that's the restaurant where Edward and Bella stared blankly at each other. Wow.
So from there, like at one point in the movie, like all the fucking teens go to La Push, and they say La Push like 7 times.
It's the
before
place
they
to
go.
be, Cleveland.
It's the place, which is
It's
a
the
weird way
place.
to
La
phrase
Push
it.
is the place to be.
Like it's not the fucking Ritz-Carlton. It's a beach.
The territory of the wolf.
Whereas at this point in the movie, I was begging for someone to La Push me off of a bridge.
Yes, you were. That's true. That's very true. I spent some time in La Push, and it is a really lovely overcast beach. Pebbles for the most part instead of sand. Some cool little islets, out to shore.
Wow.
Ton of driftwood. It's like redwood driftwood
Oh
too.
man,
So it's like big
Driftwood City, baby.
driftwood city. So
That's boy shit right there.
Yeah.
Finding sticks, throwing rocks. That's boy shit.
speaking of,
Not fucking sparkly ass gay
yeah,
vampires.
fuck that shit. I built a fort.
Whoa, you out of driftwood and rocks?
No, dig this actually. For
Oh,
real,
I'm
though.
digging.
So I had a day or two there, and I'm like, yeah, I want to build a fort with all this driftwood. So I found like a fallen tree, right, like along the beach, and I got all this driftwood together, and I built and I dug out like this elaborate fort. And there's tall grass along there, so I thatched the roof. I was like, fuck it, I can tie it together, and I can like thatch the roof and put mud over it, and then thatch it again.
Yep, that's boy shit.
Boy shit, yeah, I thatched the fucking roof of this thing. There was like
Edward
a rope you
Cullen
take
could
down into
never.
it. It was awesome. But on the last night there, we were out having a little fire and just sitting around.
Did a werewolf set fire to your hut?
Yeah, the werewolves came by.
I came back to my hut and there was a crackhead in there.
Well, so here's the thing. A beach ranger came by, which I guess is a job, and
Damn, that
the
sounds
beach
like a cool
ranger was like, "Hey, did you guys build this?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I did." He said, "Damn, that's one of the best forts I've ever seen." However, he's probably just being nice. I thought it was pretty cool in my 15-year-old head. I don't know if it was actually that neat, but whatever.
It was
Anyway,
probably like the 5th best fort he's ever
seen.
seen.
Yeah, I mean, there's gotta be a lot. He sees a lot of forts, right? So
Sure, like-
he's just being nice. But anyway, he was like, "Yeah, so that's a really nice fort. Unfortunately,
Nice.
thank you. Homeless people are gonna stay in that, so you're gonna have to take it down.
Because God forbid homeless people have a dry place to sleep.
God forbid.
God forbid.
you don't want them in the city.
So-
you don't want them in the woods.
You don't want
Where
them
the
on.
fuck
You
are
don't
they
want them
supposed
on the
to be?
beach.
So on the last night, I had to
To
throw all of
dismantle.
my thatched roof that I worked very hard on into a
Sweet
bonfire, and burn the
Burninate the thatched roof cottage.
burninate the thatched roof cottages, Trogdor. And
Speaking of
speaking
of anachronistic things from the 2000s, Jesus Christ!
I think that concludes my story. I think that's...
So very little to actually do with Twilight. You've just sort of been in the part of the country where the story takes place,
And you heard bits and pieces.
and you went to a Subway that had a Twilight sandwich.
See, it's funny. It's fucking funny.
Good shit, man. Well, I want to talk a little bit about just a brief history of Twilight, some things that I find interesting.
Okay, please.
Because
How drunk are you right now? I'm pretty fucking toasted.
I mean, the drunkest I've been on the podcast in a while. I don't think we're at Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 yet, but I do have a few drinks sitting here
The night is
for
young.
me, so check back with me in about 40 minutes.
I will. I'll check in.
But Twilight was written, the books, by Stephanie Meyer, who is a Mormon. It would surprise probably nobody.
And the books were originally a... Do you guys know this trivia? They were originally a 50 Shades of Grey fanfic.
Other way around. 50 Shades of Grey is a Twilight fanfic.
Oh, fuck, you're sorry.
That is part of what I'm getting into, but, I mean...
Well, thank you for stopping me spreading disinformation on the podcast.
We'll talk, I mean, I'm sure about how, just, like, insanely Mormon this whole story is.
Yeah.
Just in general, like, it's no surprise that Stephanie Meyer's a Mormon. But what I did find surprising is, because I looked it up, because while we were watching this movie, because I feel like a lot of the dialogue is probably taken directly from the books, because it's one of the worst written things I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Who's going to have the time of day to do much more than just directly adapt
That's what I'm saying. And we'll get into that as well. But I was shocked, flabbergasted even, to learn that Stephanie Meyer was 30 years old when she started writing this series. Yeah. Wow. Because this is all written like a 15-year-old would write something.
Well, it's written for them, yeah.
It's written for them, and it totally speaks their language. So I just thought it was, like, surprise. Like, this is the kind of thing that's, like, I was kind of expecting, like, I knew she was a Mormon. I knew she got married very young. Like, I was kind of expecting this to be one of those things where I pull it up as, like, oh, she started writing this when she was, like, 22. You know? But no. 30 years old. Can't even use the excuse that she was only a few years separated from our heroine Bella Swan.
I actually think that makes a lot of sense. I honestly I think a lot of this stuff is pretty disconnected from how like human children like interact.
I mean, it's just kind of crazy that I'm gonna admit something to you guys. This isn't a huge admission because it was when I was a child, but when I was like 10, 11, 12, we remember Neopets, right?
Yeah, sure,
Everybody was Neopets.
Yeah.
Well,
they're dying right now.
They're dying right now. All of your Neopets, they're still dying.
Yeah, eternally.
But I feel like a sort of lesser frequented corner of the Neopet site, because there's a lot to do, man. There's
so much.
Chuck chock full of stuff to do on Neopets.
A chuck ton, as you say.
A chuck ton, a chuck ton even. But they did have like a whole full ass like forum message board section of the website.
Yeah, for grooming.
or Cleveland, or for 12-year-olds to live out their vampire OC role playing.
For grooming.
Well, would it shock you to learn that I don't think so. If so, I don't remember it. But an 11 or
whoa, that's a way to phrase it.
An 11-year-old or so me was very active doing vampire role plays on the Neopets message boards.
Awesome. I love it.
And I was just... I mean, okay, well, we've talked about girl shit v boy shit, right? I was very much in, like, the boy shit vampire role plays where it's like...
I'm a cool vampire.
Where it was about the vampires fighting each other and being like, well, no, you didn't kill me, nuh-uh, because I have this power. Well, nuh-uh, I actually have this power.
Yeah. You see, I'm like Blade, actually.
Yeah.
I'm a cool vampire.
I was actually more into.
is a cool
I was
vampire.
actually more into like the Legacy of Kain games.
Okay.
So that was my sort of like flavor of vampire.
See, I'm sort of a soul reaver type of dude.
Yeah, well, hey, that's
Like,
part of the
yeah,
Legacy of Kain. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so you know, like it wasn't like vampire romance shit. It was like cool badass vampires like fighting each other. But my point in all of this is that like while watching this movie, it was like being sucked back in time 20 years or so to being 11 years old on those message boards again, because this movie, and I'm assuming the books as well, are written like me and those presumably, hopefully other preteens were writing to each other, and not.
I have bad news.
There probably was a couple of like full-grown ass men in there, probably.
Yeah, I have bad news, Tease.
Again, if it happened,
Are you-
I don't remember it.
Damn, oh yeah,
Maybe I should go to therapy and see if there's some repressed memories in there. I don't know.
this is your therapy.
Kind of.
Yeah, right.
Kind of. But anyway, this is sort of a big roundabout way of saying that Twilight is a direct result of 9/11.
Well, I was gonna say Twilight is direct groomer material.
It is, but let's not skip over that it is a direct result of 9/11. That's not a joke. I'm being serious.
I would love to please elaborate. Please, could you tie these like red strings together?
I did some outside research because I remember being told this by a friend years ago. It was actually how 9/11 led to 50 Shades of Grey, but Twilight's like the midpoint of that, so that's where we're going. So I reached out to said friend. I won't name her because I didn't ask if she wanted to be
You
named.
respect her, yeah.
I don't know if she wants to remain anonymous, but I did ask her. I was like, hey, I have to watch Twilight for the podcast. Please tell me how 9/11 caused it. And so I'm going to do that. Just sort of the cliff notes. I don't know if you guys know that the step in between 9/11 and Twilight is the band My Chemical Romance.
Go on.
Yeah, so Gerard Way, the front man of My Chemical Romance, we all know him, right?
Sure.
We all that was also big when we were in middle school.
Definitely.
He had an internship at Cartoon Network in New York. And he was on his way to his internship on 9/11 and was on the Staten Island ferry when the planes crashed into the towers. And he stood there and watched 9/11 happen. And he was so traumatized by it that he said, like, if I knew that the world was ending and I could do anything, what would I do? And so
Kill
he
Hitler.
formed My Chemical Romance and write Welcome to the Black Parade, because that's what he did. And you may ask, how does this get us to Twilight? Well, because Stephanie Myers was a huge My Chemical Romance fanboy and would sit and listen to My Chemical Romance while writing Twilight.
Oh.
She specifically, I do have a piece about that. This is a quote from Stephanie Myers herself. The band is so in touch for me with Jacob's character. That's Taylor Lautner for the fake fans. This really raw, uncontrolled emotion, where it's not about some person who's grown up and calloused over and learned how to control things. It's someone who's feeling it for the first time and just wants to go out and blow things up. The song Famous Last Words by My Chemical Romance is a really romantic version of Jacob saying, okay, I'm putting myself out there, and you're probably going to break me, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm still going to make the offer. And that's how 9/11 led to Twilight. And then indirectly or directly to
50 Shades.
to 50 Shades of Grey, which started out as Twilight fan fiction.
Yeah. Which is funny because it's like...
So like every bad thing that's happened in the last 20 years, we can trace it directly back to 9/11.
The thought process to 50 Shades of Grey is really funny to me, is because it's like some 30-year-old woman who also the woman who wrote 50 Shades was also in her mid-30s, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's funny.
And she's like, "Oh, this isn't horny enough for me."
Yeah, that's the thing, is how it goes from like extremely like sexually repressed Twilight to like full on like bondage porn. Like that's
the same. Like
I mean, it's,
that repression is so tense, you know, like especially after seeing the movie, right?
but
Both
50
are
Shades is
creepy
like unrepressed, right?
It's about 17-year-old
100%.
teenagers.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is it like Twilight? The demographic is schoolgirls. 50 Shades, the demographic is wine moms, right?
Well, 50 Shades is the demographic is the schoolgirls who grew up into
Twilight.
the sexually frustrated 20-something, 20 and 30-somethings.
Yeah.
Like, it is for the same audience. It's just aging with them, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. You know, My Chemical Romance. I never really think against them. I always enjoyed hearing them, like, but I never really, like, listened to them. I never went on my way.
It's not for me, I'll say that.
I really...
But they certainly had a big cultural moment, and they've been coming back, which is just that 20-year cultural boomerang, you know?
Yeah, I missed the My Chemical Rowboat.
Oh God! No.
All of that, just all the setup, just for that. God damn it! I'm already in like a fragile
honestly,
psychic state. I'm gonna kill myself.
Like,
Please don't.
I feel like emos are
I'm gonna
the
kill
most
myself on the podcast.
easily milkable demographic.
Don't
like,
milk the emo.
I mean,
in
Don't
terms
do
of
that.
like taking easy money from people.
you're right, but like the broader expansion of that is teenagers.
Yes.
Like it's just
Whoa, don't milk the teenagers.
But the
Definitely
No,
don't
don't-
do that.
But the
Don't milk the
emos aren't
teenagers.
Don't do that.
They are.
anymore.
They are.
They're millennials buying tickets to cruises.
Well, yeah,
Emo
I mean, there's-
revival cruises.
Oh God.
there's that leads to a whole
Prison.
that leads to a whole different thing about how things are so bad that everybody is sort of like regressing into like comfy childhood things, like that's its whole conversation, but we're trying to keep it in the moment in 2008 when
Not 2000. Late.
Can we
Not
talk
2008.
Can we talk about the grooming stuff in this movie?
Let's do
Sure,
it.
yeah. I mean, fuck
Jesus
yeah. Let's
Christ.
talk about
Okay, so
let's talk about how
Where to start?
the premise of this whole story is inherently extremely creepy.
Well, I mean, it's literally the anime fucking creepy Matt bullshit where he's like a 200-year-old dragon. And he's trying to sleep with a 17-year-old.
I wish he was a 200-year-old dragon. I wish he was a dragon. That would be way more interesting.
Like,
But instead, he's a vampire. When he's standing in the sun, he get wet.
less interesting, equally pedophilic.
Sure.
Like, he is...
I mean, yeah, it's fucked up.
It's
Like,
fucked up, it's weird.
There's just like the whole premise of it's just like there's so much to get into, and it's like I feel like we could talk about it for fucking hours, just how like insane this thing is from its very premise. But yeah,
honestly, my personal favorite joke while we were watching was there's a lot of will they, won't they tension during the movie.
well,
And I was saying Edward wants to wait until Bella's 18, so she has to be the pedophile.
so she'll be the pedophile. Yeah.
Like, there really isn't a lot of will they, won't they. It's just when will they. Like, there's no real... from the moment they see each other, they want to fuck. Like, so there's no period.
Well, the first scene.
The first time they see each other is crazy because
insane.
like
This whole movie's
she walks
fucking
into
batshit.
like biology class, and it just cuts to Edward, and he
No, the
just
cafeteria first.
oh well yeah, she sees him in the cafeteria, but he doesn't see her. There's like
Yeah, we
but
get
that's
that.
when
But
that's
she
when
sees him, and she makes this face where it looks like she, like, smells a fart and she's gagging.
that's the face she's making through the entire movie.
Well, there's other times where she's, like, biting her lip and, like... doing
Barely.
stuff. But, like,
She's
during that scene,
mostly-
like, she looks like she's gonna, like, barf. Like, it's so weird.
That's
It's
the
just a
face
weird
that she
face.
makes 90% of the movie. 95%.
Well, I would
of the
say
movie.
also, like, for a big portion of her career. There's a few other movies she was in. Was the Snow White movie, and
Oh God, yeah,
I
she's
can't
in
remember-
2 of those.
There was
believe
like
it
a
or
period piece that she was in, or maybe that was Lea Seydoux. I kind of get them mixed up sometimes, but like where she makes, which makes they're both in Crimes of the Future, but where
Yeah,
she just
totally
kind of makes
different
that pouty
actresses.
face a lot, and
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of what she was known for and always kind of ragged on, and people, for years were saying that she was a bad actress because, like, this franchise was, like, the
honestly, my sympathies.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree, because, like, I remember being, like, one of those people back in those days, and, fucking Robert Pattinson, too, but, we can talk about it some more
You were
later.
fucking Robert Pattinson?
Yeah, totally. Why not? But like they've both been able to like really escape this shit, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
and,
100%. Dude,
and they're honestly like
Sierra
two
Crimes
of
of the Future
my
episode, she
two of
kills
my
it.
favorite working actors right now. Like
Yeah.
they've both been in
like,
just like
mad fucking props. Let's go ahead
multiple
and-
like really good
Yeah.
movies.
yeah, like
so
she is amazing.
I think the
Crimes-
problem is just like this is one of the worst written movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it's
and I
bad.
just don't think that there is any way that any actor, the greatest actor in the world, could deliver any of this dialogue in a way that is like believable. So yeah, I mean, I feel like
Well,
for two young actors coming up, I mean, obviously they were making fucking shitloads of money by the end of this
Yeah, I
franchise.
don't have, like, any
But like
sympathy, but-
I do feel like they probably sort of had to fight to be taken
what,
seriously
the
as
five of
actors.
these,
The
you
funny
know,
part
like,
about
by the third one,
the
I can speak
script
off my
being
mind.
so dog shit is you almost see different methods of actors trying to cope with that fact.
Yeah.
Like some will just go so flat that like it
They're
seems
checking
like
out.
they're phoning it in from another country. Like the Stash Dad. Like he
Yeah,
is
Billy Burke.
mumbling his lines throughout like just the flattest delivery I think
I mean,
I've
there's
ever seen
I don't
in
think
my
there's
life.
I don't think there's a drop of charisma to be found
Yeah.
anywhere in this entire.
But, you know, on the
movie.
other hand, you get people that read the script and go full ham with it.
like who?
Like,
who is hamming
the
in this?
evil vampire.
Oh,
He goes super campy
I think
with it.
I think he goes campy, but without the chops. It's not very good. It's not like I
mean, he's
barely
also
remember
he's
him.
also just like a non-character.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, again, the script is
Yeah, it's
awful.
just
like, even if
terrible.
you try to camp it up, you can only do so much.
I guess
with material.
I guess it's camp in comparison, but I think if we're talking in just like camp in general, it's still just like nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so fucking dismal. I mean, the direction is bad too. I did want to talk a little bit about the director. Sorry to the director if she's listening to this. Sorry for multiple reasons.
Fans of.
But yeah, this was directed by Catherine Hardwicke, who, I think she is, a not unheard of story in Hollywood where a young director gets noticed off of a couple of like well received like indie movies and then immediately gets like sucked into the Hollywood system and only makes Drek for the rest of their career. Cause she did like her early movies were like 13 and that Lords of Dogtown skateboard movie. Y'all remember
Really?
that from 2005?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that was her second movie, and then she got brought on to do this movie. She only did this one. She did not direct any of the other Twilight movies. But, like, looking at, she's done a lot of TV, sort of unsurprisingly, but she did that god-awful, very similarly toned Red Riding Hood movie in 2011, the edgy one with Amanda Seyfried. Do y'all even remember that?
Oh, no.
Again, like a lot of TV, she directed one episode of Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, which,
Wait, which one?
unsurprisingly, the worst one, the Dreams in the Witch House one.
That one's
Yeah.
awful. I fucking hate
Like,
it.
yeah, like I said,
Oh,
the worst one. Yeah,
I almost like that
the
one
worst
person because like Dreams of the Witch House is one of my favorite Lovecraft stories.
Yeah,
and like it's butchered.
Yeah.
it's butchered in that.
true. And you have her to thank for that. But also,
God damn.
guess what her latest film is. Her most recent came out this year. We saw trailers for it.
What?
Mafia Mama with Toni Collette.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
y'all remember
Oh
that?
yeah.
We saw trailers for that movie. She
oh,
directed
okay.
that. So that's what Catherine Hardwicke is doing these days. A storied lineage from Lords of Dogtown
Still
through
getting
Twilight
work.
to this. I mean, hey, she's getting paid. She makes
Making
more
those
money than
mid-budget.
she makes more money than I do. That's certain. That's for certain.
I can't fault it, honestly. Like, just, you know.
Journeyman
Get your
directors,
bag, whatever.
Journeyman directors, it's whatever. I do think that if this movie is anything to go off of, she's a genuinely bad director, though, because I think that these performances are the kind of bad that takes a combination of bad writing and directing, because I think a competent director can get interesting performances out of a bad script.
Sure.
Yeah, and when you have these actors to work with, like,
Yeah.
they are very talented actors.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were young at this time. You know, they've aged and matured and gotten better at acting. But, like, yeah, it is just, like, the contrast for what they've gone on to do to where they started with this shit is just
Yeah.
like, oh, it's so fucking dog shit.
Yeah, well, I feel like every aspect of this movie is phoned in. I think even the color correction.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy that this was, like, kicked off, like, an enormous, like, multi-$100 million franchise.
Oh, no, I mean, like, I really earnestly think that you said it really well.
It's the audience.
It's that, well, see, here's the thing, right? Like,
You don't have to make good movies for the audience that
They're
this is
gonna
catering.
love it
Don't-
regardless.
Exactly.
yeah, it's like, I think that was the mentality of a lot of people making this film, too, is like, oh, it's for 13-year-old girls, whatever, we don't have to, like, they're gonna love it anyway.
Yeah, you don't have to try.
I kinda hate that, because, like, there's a lot of, like, movies that are really well made for, like, 13-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Like, you can make a good film and still have, like, good art, you know? Like, and I think they deserve that, personally, too. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know.
I mean, you have the most experience. You have, quote unquote, read more of the source material than either Ben or I have. Do you think there's any way to take that source material and make it good?
No.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
No, not with
So
this.
like why would the people who are making this, like, even try at
Right.
that point?
Yeah.
Like, I think you read something like that and
No,
you
that's
just
fair.
recognize it's like, God damn, there's no fucking way to make this.
Yeah, and again, you know that the audience is gonna love it,
Well, yeah, it doesn't-
regardless of quality.
It doesn't have to.
'cause they don't have taste.
It doesn't have to. Yeah, like, kids and preteens, like, that's the beautiful thing about them as an audience, is that they have not developed taste yet.
Yeah.
So they will like it no matter what. Like, you just have to hit those buttons. You gotta do the sappy romance stuff. You gotta have the needle drops of the popular songs that they've been hearing on the radio. You gotta have handsome people, good looking people.
To me, like, I personally, like, hate that, because, and I agree, I mean, I fully agree, and, like you got me, like, when I said, you know, like, oh yeah, there's really, like, nothing you could do with the book.
Yeah, I mean, I hate
unless,
it too.
Unless the screenplay was, like, really well adapted, then, like, maybe. Like, you could do something with it, make a lot of changes, but, like, Stephanie Meyer was, like, pretty directly involved. Those books were making so much money that, like, they wouldn't have been allowed to touch it, I think, by that point, like, by the time they were
Well, no,
making the
because
movie.
again,
yeah, because
you're-
the inherent
like, the machine
implication
wouldn't have allowed
Your
it.
would be
audience-
like,
your
there's
audience
nothing
is
wrong
insane.
with it. It's making
Yeah,
money.
which is
And
like,
also
so, like,
your
the
audience
machine
wants the
wouldn't
good-
allow it to be good art, basically.
The audience wants the true adaptation, right? Like, the
Yeah.
teenage girls want to see something that's true to the books that they're reading.
Yeah.
Well,
you know?
it's funny for me because, like, it Dread, like, we make like a good number of our games have been like mascot horror games, which is a genre that is generally known for, like, oh yeah, the kids will just like it regardless. Fucking Gart and a Ban, fucking, you know, all that other stuff. And, like, when you try to put quality into it, like, you get, like, a better product. You get like an earnestly, like, good, decent piece of art. You know, like with Amanda the Adventurer and My Friendly Neighborhood. Like, those are, like, well-made games. Like, they're small teams and, like, small turnarounds, but, like, the artists, like, put in a lot of, like, care and love.
Well, yeah,
into
because
those
they
works.
weren't written by one sexually repressed Mormon woman.
Thank God. That's the only, like, hill I'll die on, is that, like, I think that everyone deserves quality, whether they're, like, they appreciate it or not.
And I think it's a bummer, but also it is pretty funny. Really, like, you can just tell that, like, from every angle, no one in this movie cared.
Yeah,
a lot of
I mean,
the delivery of the lines, like, you can tell, like, they were just trying to get it out the door, get it done, so they can, like, get to the craft service table, so they can, like, fucking, get their.
Well,
bag.
it's crazy. It's crazy too, because like it started before and went a little longer. But like, what was the other big like YA cultural touchstone at this point? It was fucking Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
And like.
A lot of love in Harry Potter. A lot of crap.
that is shit for babies too.
Sure.
And like
It's for babies, but like,
and like J.K. Rowling is a bad person, but it's like there is like the comparison is just like crazy. Like I don't even like the Harry Potter shit that much,
yeah, but you
like
can recognize the craft.
there's so much more
witchcraft.
craft in it, and it's like, okay, maybe these Twilight movies get better. I'm hopefully never gonna find out. I don't fucking care. But like they hired like they got like real directors to do some of the Harry Potter movies. Like fucking Alfonso Cuarón did the third one, like
The best.
it's yeah, this is just like I think that those movies at least were like you said, like trying to create quality for their young audiences, and for what they were that. And like this in comparison, like I know the audience that it was made for loved it, so like who am I and what am I saying? But just like watching it now, it's just great. Like it's one of the worst made movies I've ever seen from like every single standpoint. Yeah. Writing, directing, fucking acting, color grading, sound mixing, scoring, like it's
the VFX.
The VFX, like it is insane. Like not one single department in this movie stuck the landing.
Nope.
Even half stuck the landing. Like the sound mixing is bad. Mm-hmm. It's the fucking all of the music that's not needle drops, that's not licensed music, is like garage band presets. It's crazy.
Yeah, dude. Well,
it's it's non-music.
Jeez.
And it's mixed so loud in comparison with the dialogue. And it's in every scene.
Hey, Cheese, I've got this stack of cash for you. I need you to sound mix the Twilight movies.
Done.
Yeah. You're going to do it in your sleep, right?
Yes.
You're not going to care.
I will, and it'll be better than this.
Really?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't deign to. I wouldn't say that.
It will.
Like,
because when I
I don't know how much those guys were. Like, honestly,
because when I mix sound,
the mountain of cash thing. Here's a
when I
mix
sound, when I mix sound, I can tell. I can tell if I can hear the dialogue over the music.
Yeah, but are you going to put the work in?
That's moving sliders, homie. That's literally moving sliders.
I don't know.
I just, I can't.
Sorry to the sound mixers out there.
Yeah, no,
real sound mixers have a hard job.
Well,
I'm not trying to discount that.
Absolutely.
But making the dialogue louder than the music is like the easiest part of the sound.
There's also you're not just doing that. You're also doing all the politics around the movie to get into the job. You're doing like all the other bullshit. We're having to work with all these other people who have opinions and executives and other shit. Like
Cleveland, I'm just fucking bitter that I had to watch this fucking movie.
I feel like
it's not a personal attack on any of the people who make it. I'm just so mad. I'm just so fucking mad that I wasted 2 hours of my life tonight when I could have been playing Armored Core, that I had to fucking watch this fucking movie.
I feel like this is like one of those bell curve memes where like the stupid people are saying like, you're just moving sliders. And then the really smart people are just like, you're just moving sliders. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Well, let's dig into a few of our favorite scenes. How about the scene where they go into the chemistry room and Edward looks like he smelled a rotten fish.
Oh my god.
It looked like he smelled the penguin exhibit.
He laid eyes on her, and it looks like he just had a sad cum. Oh my god.
because she walks right into a giant fan and it blows like her set towards him,
and he's like all stiff and like twitching, and he like slaps his hand like over his nose and mouth. It's just like, that whole scene is crazy because like she goes and sits down and it does like a time lapse thing like through the whole class where like every shot of him he's just like white knuckle like gripping the desk and like
just staring
and just like staring at it. It's crazy, and that's like supposed to be like the electric moment of like connection or whatever. That leads me to another point. It's insane how every single character in this movie wants to fuck Bella, but Edward and Bella together have the least chemistry of any pair of characters in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Well, as we unfortunately mentioned, like,
she has straight up sexual tension with her dad. It's crazy.
it's unfortunate.
It's fucking insane. Like, every scene that they're in together, they're putting out like, I wanna fuck you energy. And it's like, and they can't muster that shit up for the actual love interest with the 100-something-year-old vampire.
About the lack of chemistry between Bella and Edward in this movie is like the dialogue, the subtext of pretty much all of the dialogue between the two of them in this movie is like, I can't wait to suck your fucking dick. Like, the dialogue has horny subtext.
It's the horniest shit, like the most overwrought, like disgusting, dripping, like romance shit, and they're delivering these lines to each other like they just woke up from a nap. Just like both characters like totally blank faced the entire fucking movie, and it's just like not a single spark of chemistry between these characters who we're supposed to believe are like helplessly in love with one another.
Well, like, it's funny too because like there's like a mountain of quotes from like all the actors and people working on set just being like, I just wanted to get out as soon as I could.
Yeah,
like they all are just like over it.
How
before,
can you?
Like,
it's like how can
the first
you
one,
muster...
and then there are 5 more. If there's 4, how many of these are there?
I think there's 5
Yeah,
total
4 more to go after
there's
this
4
one.
books
Jesus.
and they split the last book up into 2.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean it's just unbelievable, like, how little chemistry there is between these two characters. And, like, I'm pretty sure that, like, at some point during the course of this series, like, Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, like, actually dated, like so many, like, actors do who are playing, like...
I'm pretty sure in the last, like, 5 or 6 years, Kristen Stewart came out as a lesbian. So...
Maybe Twilight did it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that doesn't mean anything.
Sure.
I shouldn't say it like that. But...
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. But, like, it's just, like, it's crazy. Because I am pretty sure that, like, and maybe it was a publicity stunt, maybe it was never real. But, like, I feel like at some point they were, like, together during the production of these movies. Probably not in this first one.
I feel like the teenage girls willed it into existence.
I mean, yeah, maybe. But, I mean, when you're having to, you know, when your job is like caressing and kissing this other person, like oftentimes real romances develop. It happens all the fucking time.
You worked yourself into a shoot.
You worked yourself into a shoot, like they would say in the wrestling business. Absolutely. You worked yourself into a shoot. But it's just like the lack of on-screen chemistry between people who ostensibly were like actually together in real life is just like extra funny to me.
Well, Bella... Her performance is so empty-headed throughout the movie that there's a moment where Edward is like, I can read everyone's thoughts, you know? And he scans the room and he's like, sex, money, sex, cats. And he's like, but yours...
But from you,
I can't hear anything. It's like listening to the ocean.
But from you, I get nothing.
It's like
and it's just
shell.
like, and she just looks at him like blank faced, and it's like, yeah, man, it's
going
like
on up in there.
There's nothing back there.
it's so funny because it's like, of course they're trying to be like, oh, there's something special with her,
She's
you know,
mysterious.
she's mysterious. She's not like
powerful.
the,
She has
she's
walls.
not,
She's
she's not
putting
like
up.
she's not like the other girl. She doesn't dance, and she doesn't like going shopping for dresses glasses, but she does like listening to Debussy, you know. Claire de Lune is cool, right?
She loves Debussy.
She loves Debussy. But it's just like she's mysterious. It's like he can't, his magical vampire mind reading powers can't penetrate her mysterious brain. But it's like, it just comes across being like, from you I get nothing because it's just empty. There's just a void behind your eyes. You know, it's just like the sound of a fucking toilet flushing like in your skull.
It's the monkeys with symbols.
Yes. Well, it's like from you I get nothing.
To dig into that a little bit further too, her character is like straight up bad. Like as in like not morally good. Like there's a bit where he's like, I need to show you who I am. I'm gonna take you up the mountain. So he piggyback flash speed runs her up the mountain.
Oh my god, it's such a bad.
It's so silly.
It looks so bad.
It looks so bad.
They do it so many times in this
CW
movie too.
Flash, you know, shit, and like they run up the mountain, and he shows that he's all sparkly and shit, and he's
Bro,
like,
Supernatural was around at the same time as this movie, and it was better.
yeah,
I'm just
easy,
saying.
easy. Well, yeah, because people
Supernatural defender is
because
logged
people
in over
The dude
here.
that I will always be the Supernatural defender. Supernatural's a good show. It's the same showrunner who does The Boys. It's Eric Kripke.
I've seen enough of it to know that like people who
Supernatural-
worked on it like clearly cared.
Supernatural.
I'll give
a
it
good
that.
show.
I will absolutely give it that. But
Some
like,
of the later
anyway,
seasons are bad.
sure, yeah, sure. I'll
I'm
take your
just
word
saying.
for it. I'll never know.
I'm just
but-
saying they were doing dumb vampire bullshit at the same time as this movie did on a way lower budget, much better.
Right. But anyway, so he takes her up to the mountaintop, and he's like, look, I'm sparkly. And he's also like...
You mean he's wet?
He's wet, yeah. And then he's like, yo, but I've killed people. And she's just straight up like, I don't care.
I don't care.
And it's like, wait, why don't you care?
I'm too horny
Yeah,
for you,
he's
but
horny.
I'm too horny for you, but you would never guess it if I wasn't saying it because there's no emotion or passion on my face.
It's so weird because like they do this weird thing where it's like they try to like play up that he's a monster, like he's killed people and shit, but also they try to be like good vampires where they only drink animal blood, and they say it's like eating tofu, you're never satisfied, which is weird because like tofu you can be totally satisfied being vegetarian, but whatever. That's also kind of fucking weird. But anyway, they're like, oh yeah, you know, we only drink animal blood, but I have killed people, and it's like, well, like what? Okay, so you're what's your deal? Like they're trying to still do the ooh, you can't because I'm bad and I'm a monster. But she still wants the monster.
He tries not to, but sometimes the monster still gets out.
Yeah, and he murders.
They're always
like,
has to-
great, okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, Cleveland, because as he says multiple times in the movie, like once a vampire tastes human blood, they get worked up into a frenzy and they can't stop. It becomes a whole point at the end when he has to suck the vampire venom out of her. But, what if he loses control and kills her?
Look, I'm not going to rag it too hard because, you know...
I mean...
We all have a type, and often that type is the kind of person where in 5 years you see yourself having a big shouting match in a Denny's parking lot. I understand. I get the wanting something that's not good for you mentality. I just... Murder is... bad. Murder's like really bad, and like she's like, yeah, it's cool, it's fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing
you won't murder me.
It's the kind of thing that you
That's all that
wouldn't.
matters. I'm selfish.
It's the kind of thing you wouldn't be questioning in a well-made movie where the two actors like actually seem like they're interested in each other. But in this movie where these two cardboard
in the
cutouts
writing, they're
are
given
talking,
a reason to care about each
are
other.
talking to each other, it's like, yeah, the shit is glaring. It's like, why are you attracted to one another? Like, I don't buy it. Like, your mouth is saying it, but I don't feel it even remotely. It's like there's just nothing. It's just so there's so many words in this movie, but not a single one says anything. It's maddening, man. This was so difficult to watch.
It was fine.
No, it was. Oh my god!
Hey,
No,
I mean, counterpoint, Edward sucked her so hard, she went cross-eyed.
I mean, it like
That
you
shit
say
was
that
so funny.
it is funny. Well, it's like because Stephanie Myers is Mormon and like weirdly sexually repressed, it's like of course there can't be like an actual sexual release. So the equivalent
Also, it's written for it's YA, so there can't.
yeah,
be
sure, but like
In fairness.
the equivalent is when Edward drinks her blood for the first time to save her life at the end, right? Because he has to suck the vampire venom out, so she'll be okay, but not too much, so she won't die. But like they do basically treat that scene like a sex scene, like it's like
Yeah.
the
She's
most
going cross-eyed.
yeah, she's going
Basically
cross-eyed, like
sticking her tongue out.
his eyes are like rolling in the back of his head, like it's
sticking
it's
her
the
tongue out
most
about-
it's the most
It's not
like
like a Hego face or whatever the fuck it's called.
it's like the mo- it's
She
like
might
the
as
most
well be.
Jesus.
it's like the most emotion that any characters
That's
display in this movie, and it's just like just have them fuck, like just like it's.
No, Tease, it's for preteens.
But the alternative is like more perverted, I think. It's like the way it is now, like it feels more wrong. Like teenagers
Well,
have sex
Considering
with each
how,
other.
like, clingy
I
they
hate this
get with
conversation. I
each
hate
other,
this.
it does get very uncomfortable.
It does. It
does.
does. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fucking weird, and it's like they only kiss like twice in the movie, and it's awkward and uncomfortable because like there's no like actual chemistry between the two of them, but it's just like it feels more perverted because of like how repressed it is, you know? It's like sex is a part of life. Teenagers have sex with each other. Like that we've all been teenagers. Teenagers are just thinking about fucking each other all the time, and they do it too. And it's like, I know Edward is like 100 and bajillion year old vampire or whatever, and that makes him a pedophile. We've been over
that.
And he's
See,
still in
that's-
high school.
That's the
Let's go
repression
over-
part of
And he's
it.
still in
right
high school for some
Let's
reason.
go over that a little more, actually.
Okay, whatever. Why not?
Fuck it.
Fuck
it. I just wanted to bring this up. It's not in the movie, but it's in the later movies. And I need to talk about it. You know, you're talking about like the therapy aspect of the podcast. So let's do it. Let's do it like right in front of the whole public. Let's talk about how let's talk about Jacob, like for a second, and how
I thought he didn't show up until the later movies.
I was
he's always waiting in the wings.
flabbergasted when it was revealed that all of the werewolves are Native Americans.
Yeah, that was new for you.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
realize.
that was
I
new.
learned that
That was
watching the
new
movie.
for me too.
Yeah.
that might be
that seemed weird.
the most fucked up.
Ugh.
Well, I mean, it also like there's the whole like I don't want to.
Although in this movie we don't know that they're werewolves. In fairness, that's
Well, okay. So as the audience,
we
we're
get
not
that
supposed
weird
to.
flashback.
of just like
Tease.
wolves.
Yeah, they literally say they're like
Tone
wolves. And there's
Okay.
shots where it's like, you know,
You're
like,
right. I'll
here's-
take it back.
like there's a little bit where he's like, you know, like wolves, and then there's just a shot of there's just imagery of wolves to let you know what wolves look
somehow
like.
I had never seen pictures of Taylor Lautner in this movie. Like I've of course seen like pictures of him in the later movies
With short hair.
with like the faux hawk
Yeah,
and like he's
yeah.
buff and has like tribal tattoos and shit. But then like he walks up early in this movie and he's got like long beautiful
It is jarring because he looks
it's
like a
crazy.
model.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and also like he
Probably
looks
was.
so young, and he's like he hasn't like he hasn't got like jacked up yet and stuff. You know, it's like I know he was like a Disney Channel like child actor or
That makes
whatever. But yeah, it was jarring for him to walk up with just this, like, crazy, long, beautiful hair, just, like, scrawny little boy, and I'm just like, what the fuck is he doing here?
The flashback.
And he's just kind of, like, always just, like, ambiently waiting in the wings of this
the
movie.
To
flashback
bounce.
where he talks about his tribe being up against the Cullens is so funny to me because like they straight up face off. And, like, the
sepia
Cullens
flashback.
are all dressed up like the cast of Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
And
But he
It's all, like,
refers to them-
sepia toned.
The really weird thing is that he refers to the Cullens as a tribe,
Yeah.
and it's like, but they're all like super white people. You know, like it's such a weird like. I don't know, like the whole thing is just weird. It's just weird from like every angle.
He could have
It's
referred
just-
to them as a clan, and that would have been accurate.
The tribe of Yaku.
Oh God, Jesus. Yeah, but like but like I don't know, like I don't want to like hop too much on like the bandwagon of like tethering all this stuff to Mormonism because like base level Mormonism is fine. It's the higher level shit where it gets weird. But like
I mean,
like any religion. But the fucking like there is all that weird shit in Mormonism about like Christ visiting the Native Americans
yeah, dude,
and shit and like the weird mystification.
Then in the Book of Mormon, the Native Americans are one of the 2 tribes of Israel who Christ led to America, and they slaughtered the other tribe of Israel, and as punishment, God turned their skin red. That's literally in the Book of Mormon.
Yikes!
Yeah!
That's a big yikes for me, dog. So, yeah, that all unfortunately checks out. And there is this whole bit...
The Book of Mormon also says that Adam and Eve are from, like, Missouri or something.
Hell yeah. Anywho, in the later books, there's the whole, like, ooh, love triangle thing. Is she going to go for Jacob? Is she going to go for Edward? Then there's a big war that breaks out and all the rest of it. I don't know all the politics.
Who cares?
Who cares? Yeah, who really gives a shit? But it essentially is resolved because Edward and Bella have a kid, and then Jacob sees the child and he bonds with it.
He imprints on it.
He imprints on the child.
This is one thing I do know about this franchise, having not
And
read or seen any of these other
imprints
movies.
as in, like, they're going to be a couple.
Yeah, he's going to be her guardian and raise her, and then when she's of age, they will be bonded mates. Because
That
he's a
is-
wolf.
He Woody Allen's her.
He Woody Allen's her, yeah.
That is so...
And that's how they
Deeply
resolve. That's how they
upsetting.
resolve the love triangle.
awful.
So Edward and Bella get to be together, and the third guy gets to fuck their baby.
Like,
their
like
baby.
literally,
their baby
the
daughter.
vampire werewolf war is resolved with a child bride.
Yes.
But almost worse. Like it's like an infant. Like it's so like what in the fuck?
There's one element to
What
that
in the
that
fuck,
I
man?
mentioned during the movie, but I want to bring it up here as well. It's
Yeah.
like, what is the logic for having vampire babies with everlasting life? Like,
Yeah.
do they stay a baby forever?
Yeah, well, like I said then too.
Yeah, it's like, doesn't make-
these vampires sparkle when they go outside. Where we've dropped all other fucking.
I think when they have the baby, Bella has not been turned into a vampire yet, so it's still half human. So maybe it ages like a human. I don't fucking know. Stephanie Meyer made up her
cares?
own stupid vampire rules.
Well, yeah, she just ignores like half of the given vampire rules.
Well, that's the thing, is like there are so many vampire rules, and we talked about this on our Boat Dracula episode, and it like there's so many vampire rules that most vampire stories like pick and choose like specific rules that they want to use. But Stephanie Meyer just like throws it all out the window.
Yeah.
And just makes up her own shit. And yeah, when the vampires are in the sunlight, they sparkle, but in this movie, it just looks like he's wet. Yeah. It just looks like when he steps out into the sunlight that he becomes very wet all of a sudden. And he's like, this is why I can't let anybody see me like this, because this is who I really am. And she's like, you're beautiful. And he's like, yeah, and it's just, Well, let's talk about let's talk about the needle drops in this movie.
Probably, if I'm being real, you guys might
So
disagree,
dated.
but probably the best things about this movie, I honestly, apart from that one weird blues song where the guys just go,
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. That was weird. Out
He
of
was
place.
doing his best Pearl Jam
and frankly
impression.
too, like the Radiohead song at the end was really off-putting and weird.
Yeah.
That was a weird needle
Yeah,
drop.
but
yeah.
all the others, of which there are many, were kind of like little moments of respite, because even though they were dated, at least like they were like fine songs. I
Yeah,
kind of like all the songs that
Well,
are
I
in
mean,
this movie.
the Muse one is like it's a fun song, but it's so weirdly used in this movie. Like it doesn't really
It's all
fit.
vampires are
It's
playing
like it doesn't
baseball.
really. Yeah, they have to. That's
That's the most entertaining scene of the movie.
it's
right?
it's the craziest scene
Yeah.
out of like all of the many crazy scenes in this movie. They can only play baseball when there's a thunderstorm because when they hit the ball, it creates a sound like thunder. So if they do it when it's not a thunderstorm, then people will be suspicious. So every time there's a thunderstorm, they put on like old-timey baseball outfits and go out into a field.
They all looked so goofy.
They look so dumb and
stupid.
goofy, and like the effects are so bad. And there's a lot of like the jumping and the
so
the
funny.
flash
Jumping
and the
and
flash
speed
running, and
Yeah.
it's just like
Well,
And it's also like cut terribly and blocked
cut
terribly.
terribly.
Like you can't really tell like who's where at a given time. Like all the shots are really tight, and like they don't do a good job of establishing things like throughout the whole movie. Like the fight scene at the end is bad about that too. But like so they're running really fast, they're leaping and flying around, but you can't really tell like where anyone is.
You can't track
which in
any
like
of
a
it.
baseball scene is egregious. Like
It's
it's
so
like
funny,
baseball
though.
is all about like exposition and like setting up like
It's so
where
funny.
people are, who and why, and they don't give a shit about
And
that.
the
because
whole
they're like
That's too expensive. Like putting that many actors
you know,
like in different spots in the field.
the
Like
dude
fuck that.
hits the ball super far, or the girl hits the ball super far, and Kristen Stewart turns to the mom character and she's like, "That's got to be a home run, right?" And
it's like Edward's pretty fast.
yeah, and
Cuts to him fucking sped up. Oh, just like the worst like flash running effects. And it's like this whole time fucking Supermassive Black Hole by Muse is playing in one of the only instances where I think the music is mixed too low in the scene, because if there's any scene where the music should be in like the forefront and everything else should be mixed lower, it's this scene
like a
where it's like a
sports montage.
it's like a sports montage, right? But instead in this scene they mix the song super low and mix all the sound effects and the talking really high.
Yeah.
Supermassive low
the
mix.
thing about him running
Yes.
to catch the ball is like we were talking about how this whole sequence is just shot terribly to the point where you can't understand spatial awareness, or you don't have a good sense of spatial awareness.
Yeah.
You don't have a good sense of temporal awareness either, because the ball feels like it's in the air for like a minute and a half before he gets to it, and
Yeah.
he catches it in the air.
And like we've already seen the vampires can run like super fast, so why isn't the one who hit the ball just like flash running around the bases
Yeah.
in like 3 seconds?
Yeah.
Like it's just, and like to have that scene also be like the point where like the antagonists show up like proper, like well over halfway into the movie. Like the bad vampires are like quote unquote introduced earlier in the film, but
There's
they've never
such an afterthought.
but they've never been like a presence. And then this scene, like over halfway through the movie where they're playing baseball, then the bad vampires show up and it gets like tense. But all of the Cullens are wearing like these old like Babe Ruth ass like baseball outfits, and like it's just, how am I supposed to take this tension seriously?
Okay, so I have two really funny Muse related musings, if you will.
Oh sure.
So the first one is just a quick article title from NME from July 15th of 2010, where it says, "We sold our soul to Twilight." Muse bassist Chris Wolstenholme has described being on the Twilight music soundtrack felt like, quote, selling their soul, etc., etc.
That's so funny considering where they're at now.
I found this other track from 2010 that's a Neutron Star Collision, parentheses, Love is Forever. And the Wikipedia article says, Neutron Star Collision is a song by English alternative rock band Muse, featured on the soundtrack to the 2010 film The Twilight Saga Eclipse.
Damn, so they did
Recorded
it
by the
again?
band in 2010, the song was released as the lead single for the album. So, and then under the history, it says the song was first announced on Stephanie Meyer's official website. BBC Radio 1 aired the song at 7:30, whatever, accompanied by an interview with Matt Bellamy. Yeah, Stephanie Meyer's huge Muse fan, apparently, and also My Chemical Romance, which makes sense.
Well, it's funny because
they did write a song
My
for
Chemical Romance explicitly refused to write a song for these movies.
So she went to Muse, and Muse being sellouts.
Well,
I shouldn't say that,
so
really
the song in this movie that they did was not explicitly written for this movie. They licensed
but later they did.
But later they did, and I do think that's pretty funny that he talks about how they sold their soul to Twilight, and then they after that straight up like did a song for Twilight. Yeah,
I think he also put that out in 2010, so around the same time.
Good shit.
But the paychecks be like that. All right, TC, it's been about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
How you feeling, bud?
I'm pretty ready to be done with this. If I'm being real,
I'm pretty drunk.
Yeah, like
I'm on my third tall boy at this point.
Yeah, I don't think I'm at Silent Night, Deadly Night levels. I think that part of my podcasting career is maybe behind me.
Probably for the best.
Probably for the best. Yeah.
Okay.
That was like editing that episode was embarrassing. For me. It was like a several hour exercise in embarrassment.
But fortunately, thank God though, like we do at least edit these, so that, we're not just like publicly being drunk and saying stupid shit.
Well,
I mean, we are. I don't edit them. I don't edit them that much. But I'm not. My point is I'm not at that point yet. But I am like pretty done with talking about this movie, and I do have to edit this tomorrow. So are we done? Can we rate this?
One last thing I want to talk about is the final showdown action scene.
Sucks.
You know, it's
badly
in
shot.
A big ballet studio, which is funny because like normally you can't see like vampires' reflections.
Yeah, but they treat the ballet studio like it's a fucking carnival fun house, like Hall of Mirrors ass.
But it's just a square room.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit where she turns around and she sees three of them in a mirror and she's looking around like which one's the real one, but it's like a box-shaped room.
It's a ballet studio, yeah. It's like there's mirrors on either wall.
Her head is the ocean.
Calm down.
Yeah. What was your point, Ben?
Oh, no, I was just saying, for a movie about vampires, setting your climax in a room full of mirrors
where you can still see their she just throws all the vampire rules out the window. She didn't care.
Well, yeah, she's doing her own thing, Tease. But like, yeah, it is weird too because like there's a few shots where like I don't know, like Edward leaps up on a window higher up and then he flies back down and they get thrown through the floorboards and all the floorboards come up and it's like
like a meteor
there's a lot of
crashing.
work for like the CG scene and it's just at the worst angle. Like it looks it
looks terrible.
I mean,
and then the other vampires show up and
like
pull
people
him.
Spend a lot of time and work on that shot and it just looks so bad. It's a real shame.
Well, and the whole thing is like after that the other vampires show up and pull him off the bad vampire and then sort of off camera they dismember him and burn him. Like while Edward is,
it's weird because like the dad vampire pulls Edward off of him because Edward's about to kill him. Edward's about to kill the bad vampire, and the dad is like, "No, you're better than this." And then he pulls Edward away. It's like your girlfriend needs you, and he goes over and he
we'll let your siblings finish the dirty work.
They just kill him and burn him.
Yeah, just like sort of off like in the background.
Yeah, kind of fuzzy.
It's like it's
Bella's
not
passing out.
Yeah, it's trash.
Like. It just the motivation doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It's fucking stupid.
And then he sucks the poison out like a snake, and her eyes cross, and it's very silly.
And then they go to prom, and they go to prom, and she wants to be a vampire, and he won't let her. And then they spend the rest of the movies arguing about whether or not she gets to be a vampire. Let's be done with this.
Goodbye.
I'm rating this. This is the worst movie I've ever watched for this podcast.
Wow, worse than Fear.com.
Worse, finally, almost 6 years later, worse than Fear.com. This is the most psychic damage I have ever endured in service of this podcast. Half a star. The lowest rating.
You remember when you were like, let's check on the time. for this movie, and you pull up the bar, and it's like less than
halfway.
You're so miserable.
Yeah,
dude.
it was like being in like a Lovecraft story and like opening the gate and like staring into the face of Azathoth. Like it was like I took madness damage from
Frenzy.
yeah.
Well,
Half a star out of 5. Lowest score I can go. What's next?
Please.
Who's
Half a
next?
star. So 2 was fine.
Jesus Christ.
I had a fine time laughing at it with you guys, and
What if you had to watch it by yourself? What would you rate it?
well, lower. But that's not the experience I had, so that's not fair.
Well, no, we're rating the movie, not the experience.
That's all I have
I
to
mean,
rate.
the experience is
Yeah,
part
fuck
of it.
off.
you
Like
know?
it's my rating. It's not the
All
rating.
right.
Yeah, fuck off. I'm giving it a 2.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I look. There are movies where I have checked my phone way more. Like I didn't want. There are times where I earnestly didn't want to stop and check my phone or look away because I didn't want to miss the next stupid thing that was going to happen. And I have to give at least a little credit for that. I think that 2 stars is a weak movie. 2 out of 5. Like I could give it 1.5. But this movie did not make me upset and like physically repulsed like something like Old did, or
That's crazy.
or
Old
like
is such a better movie than this.
I mean, it might
It's
be
crazy.
It might be, but I had a worse time.
And I gave
watching it.
Old a 1.5 out of 5.
And I think it's totally fair and fine. I just I personally had a terrible time watching Old. I had a kind of a fun time commiserating and watching this movie with you guys. Not a great time, not an amazing time. It's not a great piece of art. It sucks. It's a piece of shit. 2.
All right.
I give it a 2.
Ben.
You remember when the Cullens were making Bella a spaghetti dinner?
Yeah, we're
And
cooking
she-
Italiano.
She said she already ate, and the sister got so mad that she crushed the salad bowl with
I do-
her hand.
I do
she
remember
destroyed
that.
the salad.
I think this movie. Look, if I was watching this by myself with no audience to heckle with, it would be an easy half star. You know, watching it with y'all, I think, is the way to do it. Watch this with other people where you can heckle it. I'm gonna give it an
Just don't.
overall 1 out of 5.
Okay.
I've seen worse. This is not the worst thing I've seen. It is bad. It is pretty unforgivably bad, but like,
Oh yeah.
It's the worst thing I've seen on the
it didn't give
podcast,
me
for sure.
psychic damage like it did Tease.
Yeah, this was a
Agreed.
really bad time. Well, Twilight will receive an average rating of 1.2 out of 5.
There you go.
So,
You know,
That's where it should
Micah, I hope you had your laughs, bud. We did it.
I will
did it.
say I worry that we have opened the Pandora's box. I was talking to my brother about us having to cover Twilight, and he was semi-threatening to subscribe to the podcast just so he could recommend the next one.
Oh no, your brother! Oh no, your brother giving us
it.
money every month.
Do
Oh
it.
man,
Do it. Like, oh my god, honestly.
do it
the
if you're
funniest-
bad, Joseph. Do it if you're bad, bro.
Coward.
Do it
You
if,
won't.
yeah,
You won't do
coward.
it.
Give us $10
You
a
won't do
month,
it.
asshole.
Yeah.
fucking do it if you're bad. Next week, blessedly, thankfully, it's my pick.
Yes.
I'm gonna bring us
Turn
back.
the boat Dracula
I'm
around.
fucking
Furious.
swinging.
What do you think
I'm swinging the boat Dracula.
Something-
Hard to starboard.
Are we gonna like break our necks from the whiplash of
Yeah,
going
bro.
from this shit movie to
Yeah,
like a
bro.
quality film?
Yeah, bro.
We're gonna be able to handle it?
We're going back to David Cronenberg. We're doing Existenz next week.
Oh yeah!
We're doing Existenz.
one that all of us have watched.
When did you see Existenz?
Like
Last time we talked about Cronenberg, you had not seen it.
a month ago.
Really?
Yeah, I watched
we
it
haven't
very
talked
recently.
about it.
Yeah.
Man, I was so banking on the podcast being your first experience with Existenz.
No, but it's
man.
great. It's a great movie. We can watch it together. We'll have
Yeah.
fun.
It is great. I am looking forward to
I
it.
love Existenz.
It's been a while. It's a great. It's a
It
it's
is
a fun
This
movie.
is my first time, and probably one of the only times, because I still haven't seen like, what's the one where the guy's head explodes? I haven't seen that
Scanners.
one. Yeah, I haven't seen Scanners. I haven't seen a few others. This is the one and only time where like, we've done like 4 Cronenbergs at this point where I haven't seen them, and I was baby,
And this one I've actually seen.
Wow.
So I can
Yeah.
actually come into it with
And
thoughts.
this is the one that I was banking on you having not seen.
Oh, damn,
so.
I'm sorry, bud.
Anyway, well, I mean, no.
Well, I love it, so spoiler alert.
It's a great movie.
Yeah,
It's
it's a banger.
it's gonna be a lot of fun to talk about. So I'm looking forward to it. That's next week. Cleveland, give us a sponsor, real fast.
quick. All right. Yeah. The shelf glows. Blah blah blah. Scary things. This episode was brought to you by this surreal person. Just a little guy.
Just a little guy.
Just a little guy.
Which one?
Man, that's what I needed
little
after
one.
this.
Little guy.
Okay.
He's a little friend. He's gonna hang out with you. And you know what? It's okay, bud. You watch Twilight, but it's just a movie. It can't hurt you. He's just a little guy.
That's where you're wrong. It can.
I
hurt
think
us.
it did hurt me, but I did need just a little guy makes me feel better.
You'll be all right, bud.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, just a little guy, for sponsoring the podcast.
Yeah, appreciate
All right. That's it. That's it.
That's it. We're done.
If you like the show, and I think we've really earned it this week, please give us a 5-star rating.
Yeah,
I think we've
oh my God.
really earned it on this one. We subjected ourselves to a bad time for your enjoyment. So leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts.
Or wherever you listen.
Or wherever.
Yeah.
You can
You're
also...
on Stitcher? Fuck it. Yeah.
Stitcher
review
is
us.
about to not exist anymore.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
No, that's
not-
where I usually
yeah.
go.
Stitcher's about to be gone, if it's not already. They are shutting down. So leave us a rating somewhere that's not Stitcher.
Damn.
You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/podpeoplepod. If you become an honorary pod boy, you can punish us like Micah did this week. I'm hesitant to put that energy out there, but if you want to give us money every month,
You could also give us a good movie that
you can
we
give
could,
us good
talk
movies.
about
We've
and
talks
bring
about
cool
a lot of
insights
our
to.
a lot of our Patreon recommendations have
That'd be
been really fun, good, interesting movies that have given us interesting
Some of our best.
conversations. And then also Twilight just now. So you can do that. And of course, shout out to our honorary pod boys, Sam, Zach, and Micah. And a special shout out to our newest honorary pod boy, Mitchell.
Hell yeah, Mitchell.
Yeah.
And
Welcome to the fold.
Micah, I'm not happy with you right now, but in the interest of forgiveness, I'm going to be zen about this and say, you know what? It's okay. Thank you for
That
recommending.
sounds sinister as fuck, dude.
Hey, it made for
I'm a
good
Buddhist.
content.
Okay.
Thank you for recommending Twilight for us, Micah.
Micah, look out. That sounds really sinister.
You can also follow the podcast at letterboxd.com/podpeoplepod, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings and links to those reviews. My recommendation for the week, Ben and I went to a concert earlier this week. It was really good. One of the bands we saw was Crossspitter. If you like really nasty blackened death metal, you should check it out. They only have one recorded demo, Dry and Grinding Mouth. It's 7 minutes of filth. Check it out. They're great.
It was fucking sick. That show was metal as fuck.
Was that the one you guys
when
seen
they
the video?
brought out the chalice of fake blood, I knew I was in for a fucking
Oh yeah,
treat.
during Sacramentum. Yeah, no, that was a fucking sick show.
For my recommendation, I've been on a bit of a retro games kick, and I played earlier this week. I played this game called Mad Panic Coaster, and it's a PS1 game. It was originally Japan only. It's a very arcadey game. Essentially, you play these two kids on the fastest coaster you can imagine, hanging on for dear life.
Oh.
And it makes games like Pizza Tower or Neon White or F-Zero look fucking lethargic in comparison.
Whoa, okay.
It is super fast-paced. It's super short. It's like an hour to play. I would definitely recommend it.
Cleveland.
Yeah, go play My Friendly Neighborhood. It's dope.
Yeah, I beat it on the last Spooky Saturday. I did. It was good.
yeah,
I
it's
have
a
completed
banger.
the game.
Yeah, dude. It's a fucking
I can
banger.
recommend it.
I
can,
like the Resident Evil vibes out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking sick.
If you want Resident Evil but with puppets, then get after it.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of craft. A lot of care in that game.
All right. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Your heart
Blah.
But where's your... I know there's nothing I can say to change that.